Step beyond the veil and into the unseen, where intuition deepens, energy flows, divine and spiritual guidance is received, and your inner wisdom unfolds. Whether you're beginning your journey or expanding your gifts, this podcast offers grounded guidance to trust your intuition and live in alignment with your soul. I'm Mariana, holding space for you to remember who you truly are, an infinite star. Hi everyone, welcome to the fourth episode of the Infinite Star podcast. My name is Mariana and I'm an intuitive psychic and Reiki practitioner, and I love to welcome you to, again, one more episode. And if you're here, I really appreciate you following. Hopefully this episode will resonate with you. This time I wanted to talk about perhaps a huge topic, which is dreams. To be honest, I'm gonna be super honest. I feel that this theme, this topic, there's so much to learn. It's really, I don't think I'm gonna do justice. I honestly think that you can write about dreams and talk about dreams for a very long time, and every time as your evolution or our spiritual evolution continues, there's going to be more things to discover. And so this episode really is going to scratch the surface, and I think it's going to be part one of two, a series of two, or maybe three, but so far I'm thinking about two. And really is to share some of the understandings, my understanding of the world of dreams, what dreams mean, how dreams been, manifested, and how I've experienced them, and what I've learned through dreams, and how dreams can serve you. So again, this is the information that I share with you really is with the intent to once again ignite that fire within, or maybe fire is a strong word, but maybe the curiosity, and for you to begin the exploration of what dreams mean to you, and what dreams are. How do they help you in your life? How do they manifest in your life? So this is that. And again, I don't think that it's such a big topic that I will talk at my level of understanding, and truly to the extent that I feel I can express what dreams are, how I've, my perspective on how they can be helpful in our lives, and what do they mean, and, etc. So by no means this is an exhaustive list. And in the same way that I've shared before, for example, signs, it really is just scratching the surface, and hopefully a way to, reach to your curiosity. So let's start by saying that dreams have been, very predominant in my life, and really they were the door to my spiritual evolution. But I wouldn't stop it there. I would expand it to say they have been instrumental to my personal growth, my professional growth, my spiritual growth, my mental growth, and the list is infinite. And for that, I say that dreams are truly the door to infinite possibilities, and the learnings continue to be to infinity. And I think that's what's beautiful about them. So I almost feel that an episode or two episodes or three episodes or a book or several books they're never going to convey what dreams can do to your life, and the difference, the positive influence and difference that it can make, they can make in your life throughout your life. So with that, I can wholeheartedly admit that I don't know everything. Obviously, right? It'd be really, really pretentious of me to say, I know everything, right? But with this, I want to say that I almost feel that this is an unfair podcast, or an unfair way to try to explain what dreams are, or at least my understanding, because it's going to fall short to what I think, how far we can go by try to understand them and interpret them, etc., etc. So not only I don't know much, yeah, I can wholeheartedly admit that. But what I know is just scratches the surface, and it's beautiful, right? It's infinite knowledge, and therefore an infinite amount of possibilities to, to learn and continue to evolve in the many different aspects of life. So for that reason, to me, and I'm looking at my notes to make sure that I kind of follow somewhat of an order, because I think dreams are also, learning is not linear in the way that we humans tend to think things are. And so I try to sort of put them in order, but there isn't an order. And I am sure that at some point I'm going to come up with, section 4 or episode 4 of this podcast around dreams, because again, it's so much to cover that I almost feel intimidated to try to put it all in one little hour, and that is if I get to talk for an hour. But really, for me, we all have dreams that are the door to infinite possibilities, infinite wisdom, and really they are the door to our higher selves. And for that reason, that just the learning, the knowledge is infinite, and the lessons are infinite. We all have the opportunity to, tap into that knowledge. We all have dreams. We all dream is in it to human beings in the same way that I feel psychic, abilities are in it to human beings. It is our, it is our prerogative, maybe is not the right word, but it is up to us to open that door, right? Like, we go to bed, we dream, and we have access to that infinite door, right? Like, to that door to that infinite possibilities. And we all have access to it. For me, it's about the time that we intentionally take to try to understand them. And then when we do is when really the infinite possibilities, really start happening. So it really is the door to our higher selves, our, divine wisdom, if you will, to having access to, infinite knowledge, and have access to, call it, for those who call it God, or, universe, source, however you want to put it. It is a straightforward door to access that again is accessible to all of us. So none of the things that I say in my podcasts are by any means or in any way, shape, or form unique to me, or that I want to say, oh my God, like I have a higher understanding. No, I'm, trying to learn. And the reason why I create this podcast is to try to share that perspective that hopefully resonates with you, so that you can, right, like start learning or start that curiosity and can take you to places that will look very different or perhaps similar to mine. But yeah, so with that, I'm going on a tangent, but like as I usually do. But with that, I'm trying to say is that we all have this. We all have the possibility, the ability to open that door. And whether we see it, like it or not, we all dream. And that you cannot deny, right? And so with that, I really hope that you take this as an invitation to let me explore what that means. And let me, put in some breadcrumbs here and try to give you ideas as to how I've interpreted, by telling you or sharing my experience on how I've interpreted them or interpret them. And continue to do so, rather. It may be something or an invitation of how you can, right? But something may resonate with you, others may not resonate with you. But I hope that that you take this as, hey, this is something that whether I see it or not, I dream. And maybe if I just open a little bit of more curiosity or open myself to more messages, that sometimes the doors open a flood of other things that are certainly to your highest and greatest good. So for the reason I do think and consider dreams being a door to the spirit world, because they are, again, open that infinite door to infinite possibilities and infinite wisdom, right? It is a place, it's a door that we open where we're not restrained or, stopped by human, laws like time and space. And we know that, what we can, it's proven scientifically, right? Like, depending on where you are in the universe is how we experience, right? Like, we're made, our planet Earth makes us be in a certain, adapt to be able to breathe, etc. But so the dreams are a door, and this door opens to our higher self in the spirit world, which again is not constrained by human laws. And so that's why sometimes they're very confusing, because we understand time, time is linear and there is space. We're physical beings, and I cannot be there while I can't be here at the same time, right? In the spirit world, we work in frequencies and consciousness. And so it doesn't, that time and that space doesn't exist. There is no time and space. And we can get into that at other opportunities, but dreams, it really is a door to where those things are stripped away. And for that reason, sometimes it could be really confusing, because it's like, what, no time, no space. I dream that I'm flying. Like, how is that possible? That's impossible, right? But because we transcend and cross that veil, right, in that door to the spirit world, we no longer have these restrictions as human beings. And so that start, let's start there. It opens, it opens, we go to the spirit realm where we're not limited by human made or human understood, I guess, laws or constraints like time and space. To me, they connect us to, like I mentioned, to our higher selves. We are not connected to our bodies and our brains and our egos for that reason. And for that reason, the lessons can be infinite, because our ego oftentimes gets in the way of our intuition, and in our dream state that does not exist, right? Like, we strip away that rationale, right, sometimes, or our ego and the limiting beliefs that we stop ourselves from experiencing this world. Yeah, if that makes sense. So our dreams can also connect us for that reason to our loved ones, like those who have passed, because they no longer have or are in this body or have physical bodies, but they have transcended, or perhaps are lingering in between a space where they can move on to the next lesson. They haven't quite fully processed what, the lessons, or there are still things that need to be said that are stopping them from moving on and evolving and moving on to the next lesson in their spiritual evolution. So the dreams are a way to connect us with them. And so sometimes we get visitations, we have full connections, we have full conversations with those that are no longer with us. And that is probably one of the most, I would say, beautiful, sometimes intense, right, experiences. And that's why it feels so real, right? Because you're like, oh my God, I spoke to this person and it talked to me and we had full conversations. It's a visitation, and we can say so much about that, but dreams is definitely a way to communicate, because again, we don't have these constraints of, that's not possible, right? Like, there's no way that I can communicate with my loved one who has passed away, because that's impossible. Well, guess what? In the dream world, we pass those belief systems. We're not limited by those belief systems, and for that reason, we're able to communicate fully with receive messages for the most part, in that sense, or not necessarily. Maybe that's a mistake to say that, but we can connect with our loved ones, and this is why it feels real, because it's real, because it's a communication that we're not, used to understanding or understand fully, because it doesn't exist, right, in this world. So we connect, we visit, and this is why when maybe someone who has passed, I always say, ask for, just they're listening, they're hearing you, because they're in a different frequency, but they no longer are restrained by the same laws. And then when you let go of those things, the great opportunity to do so is through dreams, because you're not, your ego really disappears. And so I always say, ask the question, say it out loud, right? Like put your intention, say it out loud, but really the intention is really what matters. It doesn't have to be out loud, but just because we're physical beings, that, sometimes helps a lot. But so it helps us connect with those who have passed. It helps us, make those connections, say those things that perhaps needed to be said. And also we hear those things that perhaps our loved ones needed to say, because we're in a state of being, of not having those, again, constraints. Now, sometimes I will say, and we can get into this, we human beings are very complex, and we can talk about emotions and the way we process them in infinite ways because we're all unique. Sometimes we don't hear, or we can't hear, right? Like, and not because we're not, it's not possible, but it's because we're so into our pain that even in, we can block that communication. Or sometimes the communication happens, but we, don't recognize it as such, or we are not in tune with our intuition or in tune with, how we're experiencing the dream world, that we forget the minute we wake up. So it's an intention, and I can give a few tips on how to start remembering your dreams. It's actually a really simple exercise. You just have to keep constant at it. But so we can, connect with our higher selves, connect with our loved ones, which I think is an amazing ability, and connect with our spirit guides or divine source, God, universe, however, our guide, spirit guides, our angels, different from, obviously God, universe, source, however you want to, however you refer to it, or to them, they, he, her, however you see it. But it is definitely an opportunity to connect, to say, hey, I have questions, right? Like, I am really trying to comprehend this, or I can't come across this, or I can't seem to forgive this person, right? Like, it is full access and easy access to our spirit guides, again, because we don't have those constraints and misconceptions or preconceived ideas of what it means to be a human being, right? And our egos. So it's a great way to connect with our higher selves, with our loved ones, and with our, with divine source, universe, God, and or our spirit guides, our angels, etc. So oftentimes our dreams come in symbols, and they're very confusing, to say the least. They're very weird. Sometimes it's like, what was that? I dreamt of a cow. I don't know, like a cow experiencing, I don't know, like eating or playing chess. Like, they come in symbols. And for a long time, I actually wonder myself, why can dreams be direct in the way that I understand, or that I could understand, right? And the only reason that I have, because I don't know that I have the answer to that, but the only reason that I felt I connected with when I heard it is that it is a way to help us, or to encourage us to search for meaning, right? Like, to say, hey, like, what was that, right? Like, if I just had a dream about, I don't know, I saw my dog walking, like in the literal sense, I probably would dismiss it much, much easier than if I see my dog, and I'm saying my dog because I'm looking at them, but, flying, right? Like, what does that mean? A dog, what does the dog mean, right? Like, what, etc. So it just helps us have that level of curiosity to dig deeper, to dive deeper into meaning, to what it means to me, to what situation I'm living, etc., etc., etc. So I think that is why they come to us in symbols. And I will say that our dreams are unique. So and maybe I should say this in two ways, right? Our dreams are unique to us. The symbols that we see mean something very specific to us because it depends on our experiences, on our level of understanding, our level of awareness, our level of evolution, where we are in our spiritual evolution, growth, mental, professional, personal, emotional, like all of those things. So professional, emotional and personal might be the same thing, but so they come to us, and they are very specific messages. They come in, the messages rather are very specific to us and very specific to what we need to learn, what we need to hear, and what we need to focus on, in essence, at that time. And so that is one part. But the second part, where I'm going to make I think the second episode of this will be our collective dream. There are symbols that are collective. And why is that? We are, like, for example, and I'm going to give example, water, right? Like, water is something that we can all connect to, that we all have to live with, right? Like, we wouldn't be able to survive without water. And for that reason, it holds a collective meaning. We are human beings that are fundamentally connected with one another, and for that reason many symbols are specific to the collective as a whole, if you will. I don't know. So many symbols are very specific to us, but many symbols are also collective symbols. And so I'm gonna focus on the individual for this episode, and then we can talk about the collective, some of the examples of what a collective symbol could be, and why you could take, perhaps some more truth, a more expanded collective meaning on that. And I say this because oftentimes you get, you buy at the store like these dictionary of what dreams mean, and to a great extent, it is not true, right? Like, because I do wholeheartedly believe, in my experience, again, this is my perspective because it's my podcast, it is unique to us. So me reading, like, for example, if I dream of a spider, I may have a phobia of spiders, while you may love spiders. So you dreaming of spiders may mean something completely different than me. So reading a generalized dictionary written by someone who is biased themselves, right? Like, we're all biased, is not necessarily the meaning of that dream for you. And for that reason, it is fundamentally important, crucially important, in fact, quintessentially important. And with that, I'm emphasizing the importance of finding what that means to you. Because again, a spider might not mean the same thing to me than to you. And so for that reason, digging deeper into where is the meaning behind that dream is extremely important. So while I recognize that because of the collective meanings of some things, because we share, our humanness, right? I would agree, yes, dreaming of water in this way could definitely, almost likely, right, be something collective that can mean something for both of us in very similar ways. For the most part, dreams are very individual, again, because we don't know the same people, we don't have the same dreams, we don't have the same fears, we don't have the same phobias, etc. So for that reason, I invite you that before addressing or before looking for meaning in a generic dictionary written by someone you don't really know, find that you have the answers within. The answers are within, and the knowledge and the infinite wisdom is something that you have within that you can tap into. So I hope that makes sense, because I feel that referencing or looking for meaning externally when it comes to something so personal could mislead you to not necessarily the right interpretation, and could perhaps even confuse you even more. So anyway, back to the symbols. Why do they come in symbols? And I think it's perhaps precisely for that reason, because it's a very personal meaning, and also an invitation to go deeper, right? Like, it's not literal. Otherwise, like, when you have to search for meaning, then it's more, it brings you to a higher level of knowledge, because you dug deeper, because you expanded or try to expand the initial explanation that you would have perhaps given it to. So great. They come in symbols. To me, that's still, I think it's the answer that I've come to. Maybe that's going to evolve as I evolve. But for now, my whole life, it was like, why in symbols? Why can't you just tell me if this is going to happen? Why can't you just tell me that's going to happen? And, in retrospective, yes, I think it has made me really, really literally dive deeper into many, many things and has made me grow significantly. So dreams, for that reason, can come in symbols, and they can serve as a healing session, really, because they could come with very, very, very heavy, meaningful situations, or perhaps solutions to problems. And so for that, I think sometimes they come to point to our fears, right? Like, oh my goodness, like, fear of flying. Not flying. Well, what am I saying? Although, again, yes, you can dream of flying. But I don't know, maybe I just keep dreaming of this repeated dream as something that your subconscious, your mind, your higher self is telling you, pay attention to this, because if you pay attention to this, you can discern the root of this emotion or this issue, or right, and it can help you move on to the next, right? Like, and let go of that's holding you back. So it can point at our fears, and it can help us, for that reason, process our fears, process our insecurities, process our, problems, process on whatever issue that's at hand. It can definitely help us get there. It can help us, give us closure. Like, for example, sometimes we get into fights, or a relationship ends in not good terms and not in the way that we expected it or wanted to. And talking to that person is not going to lead you necessarily, most of the times, in fact, 99.99999% of the times, closure is not for that person, it's for you. And even if you were, say, talking, we talk to that person that you had a dispute, or whatever the case is, it's not necessarily going to give you the closure that you necessarily need. And by that I say, sometimes, that person may react in ways that you didn't expect, or just aggravate more the situation, or et cetera, et cetera. And it's not, that closure was not provided. And so for the most part, I would say, I can probably say most likely that closure is for us, and it's a very personal thing. And the faster we accept that, the faster we can move on. And so our dreams can point at that, can perhaps, connect us to say, I want to make a man, how to say this? I want to, talk to this person and heal this relationship with this person. And you wish it, and it comes through a dream. You may be talking, right? Like, you may be guided to the things that you needed to pay attention, or maybe that person will come and you may be actually speaking to their higher selves. And in that moment, or at that point, you were able to, get that closure that you needed. And so, because there's no, again, constraints of time and place, maybe that was a true conversation with the higher self, and you were able to get that closure. But not necessarily, right? It's also, it could provide closure in a way where you got into to the root of the problem, and that really is what's going to help you move forward. So it can help us provide closure in different situations. It can offer solutions, right? Like, sometimes, like, why, beyond what the brain does when you go to bed. A great reason why we wake up with the answer, or we go to bed and we're like, oh my goodness, why people say sleep on it, right? We have an issue, and then we go to bed, and then we wake up with a different perspective. And I always say nothing that a good nap cannot fix, where you can actually dream. But you really disconnected and connected to your higher self, and you can actually see that solution, right? Like, you perhaps were like, got into this cycle of idea, or like you're stuck with an idea and needed to move with something else. And, your dreams can actually offer that, that solution, or that, that light that you were thinking, or that piece of knowledge that you were looking into. So I think dreams can be amazing exercises to do that. And we should use them more frequently. And I think it's imagining what's possible. Oftentimes we are limited, our human minds are limited to what we can imagine, right? Like, okay, well, I want this job and I want it like this way, but we can't fathom that something else could exist, or like we can't imagine rather that something better could exist, or I didn't imagine it this way. I think dreams can point at things that, hey, this is what's possible, right? Like, have you ever woken up and felt in love? Like, I don't know, you fell in love, you saw, or felt extreme happiness, or you imagined the house of your dreams, like you didn't even know, like it had 5 rooms. I don't know, or it had like I don't know, a place where like a huge balcony, or like the things, like it helps you also imagine what's possible, what you didn't think was, or what you weren't close to realizing. I don't know, it just has that ability to, our dreams have that ability to show you that door and just say like, hey, did you realize that this could happen? It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize, right? Like, so I think they can help us. It's a door that can allow us to fully dream, and dream in the imaginative way. It can help us really move other doors. I mean, I think that scratches the surface. Obviously, there's a lot. There's a lot to say, like a lot to say, and how I want to also, like what I want to share really is how I've experienced dreams and how dreams have been, and putting myself as an example. I guess that's what I want to say. What I'm trying to say is how dreams have played, like the role that dreams have played in my life, and how they've helped me grow. They've helped me open up possibilities and all the things that I just mentioned, obviously. But where they've helped me evolve spiritually, specifically within, psychic abilities, I think, or mediumship abilities. And I think I mentioned a little bit of this in one of the previous episodes when I talked about my psychic, development, and how dreams were pointing at, I was connecting in mediumship ways, and it helped me really get to where I am really. But I was very curious about dreams for a long time. And I could say that it first started with, with symbols, right? Like always symbols. And I think I don't want to repeat the episode. So I invite you to listen. I believe is episode 1, where I talk about like, how I started getting, or I think it was episode 2, I can't remember now, but how dreams really open, my understanding, or help me protect, right? I would dream in animals, and I knew animals attacking me. And when I would dream of an animal attacking me, I knew right away that it was something that was coming. It was helping me prepare for what was coming. And it was always work related. So also dreams help me develop or understand and connect with other people who have passed, right? Receive messages, but most impactfully, or in a more impactful way, was receiving messages from those who had passed, who I didn't know, who passed away in very violent ways. And they helped me understand how they passed away, and they made me feel the pain that they felt, the emotions that they felt at the time of their passing. So in a way, very much like mediumship. And so, but I would say that for the most part, it started with symbols and me trying to discern or trying to find meaning to what I had dreamt, is what really opened the door to, okay, this dream was about this, right? Or this dream was help me gain closure on this person, right? Because now I feel better, because now I feel like I could breathe, or I could cry, or the day after I was just crying and I was thinking about this person, and then I was able to process and release those emotions, right? Or this dreamed, with the animal, right? Like back in the day, it's warning me about something, and it was practice. It's trial and error, right? Like sometimes you're like, I think this is the dream, and maybe it wasn't, right? But trial and error. And I think following a journal or writing your dreams in a journal helps a lot, because sometimes the answers, how can I say this? Sometimes the answers are not necessarily obvious, right? And helping in writing helps in discerning it, and maybe like trying to see something clear. You get to see something clear. You write it down, forget about it, come back to it later, read it, and you're like, oh my God, it's clear, right? Because we're so into that situation that it's hard for us to separate ourselves and see a different perspective, of the perspective that's being trying to, come through for us. And so dreams can come again as helping us heal, helping us grow, helping us warn us about something, and then definitely telling us. And when I'm gonna touch on this very lightly, because I do think that this merits another, or like a full, well, maybe not a full podcast, but a bigger section in and of itself, is the future, right? Like past, present, and future do not exist in the spirit world, because again, that's a constraint made for, to our understanding, is following laws of this specific planet, to this specific solar system, in the way that we understand the world. In the spirit world, that those rules don't apply. And so it helps us sometimes understand the future, and I call it future quote unquote, because it is the expansion. To me, is expansion of the present, aka the future, is a better way for me to understand, right? Like it helps me understand. It helps me see situations that are like in my immediate present, right? Like, and so what we would call future, but there's from future to future, right? So maybe I'm not being too clear, and hopefully I am. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes it's providing information about what's coming in the immediate future, if that makes sense. And so I call it expanded present. And I'm not going to confuse without giving more context, I guess. But with that is, dreams can also provide, information about what's coming, if we are able to dig deeper into the meaning of each dream and intuitively start learning what those mean, and how I receive, right? Like how you individually receive these messages, can start understanding patterns, can start understanding, right? Like the reason, right? Like, or this is a healing dream, or this is a dream of connection with a past one, or this is a message from my higher self to me, or this is a message from my angels, or this is a message from my loved one, or this is a message from my higher self or my guides or whatever, to warn me about something that's coming, right? And I know that for me, understanding what was coming, and that it was a dream that predicts the future, let's call it, in simple terms, and yes, that's very possible. Practice is all I ask, is to understand. It's what that, what they can bring, right? And so by practicing, by discerning, by writing them down, by connecting the dots, and by, understanding those patterns, is how we get to realize, is how we get to understand how messages are being delivered to us through our dreams. So you might say, and how the heck do I get there, right? Like, there is an answer, sadly, is there isn't one way to do it, because again, we are all unique, and we have different ways of learning, we're at different levels of awareness, of understanding, of evolution. Our growth we're in different, very, very different stages, and there's no high or low, right? It's not a hierarchical, or it's not a stair. It's more like in stages and in phases, and sometimes those progress, sometimes we go back, or however we want to see them. Sometimes we have to stay in one to really get to the understanding of another concept that's going to look very similar. So don't look at it in the linear way, in the way we understand it, because it's going to not make sense if we look at it that way. However, look for patterns, right? Like, and I think the best way to start understanding how these messages come to you is start writing them down. So many of you will say, well, hey, great, but I don't remember my dreams. And so how the heck do I get there? That is, and I could be wrong, right? Of course, this is my perspective. I feel like many times is because we're very disconnected from our intuition and our inner knowledge and our infinite internal wisdom and our connection to our spirit guides and our angels and all of that, because we don't believe in woo-woo things and whatever reason. It's disconnection from our higher self, disconnection from the infinite knowledge that we have, disconnection from intuition, disconnection with our, gut feeling, and whatever level you want to call it. Gut feeling is probably the most generic. Intuition is probably the most, widely used, but I will go farther than that. Our infinite knowledge, our higher self, right? Our guides, and then ultimately God, source, universe, etc. And so that, yes, could happen. And for many of us, that's the case because we don't think dreams could play such an important place in our lives. And so with that, the exercise that I think has been very successful for me, and again, trial and error, and the minute you begin to open up to learning is when you will receive the lesson or the way in which is better for you to learn, right? Like the most important is being open. Try this, and this will take you. If it's not this may give it to you. But if it's not this simple fact that you are open, it will lead you to how it will resonate for you. And in essence, what is going to help you get to discern your dreams and understand your dreams and remember your dreams. So, but the first step is, okay, I don't remember my dreams. Let me go back. I don't remember your dreams. Great lady, everything you're saying, but how the heck do I get to remember my dreams? Well, simple. The most important thing is consistency. Consistency. So you have to be constant at what you want to, right? It's, again, the key to success is practice. And so this is no different than that. It's a muscle that it's a spiritual muscle, if you will, that we have to develop. And it's all about intention. But if we say it once, is that really an intention? Maybe not, right? Like we have to really put it out there and do the work that it takes for us to open up, because it may have been years of us closing our hearts, and it takes time. It's not just going to happen one day, or it could. I'm not saying it can't, but it's unlikely or harder for that to happen. And so if it doesn't happen the first night, that's okay. It will happen the next. And if it doesn't, just give it time, but be consistent. And so right before you go to bed, so here's the exercise that I recommend. Right before you go to bed, you just simply do, I call it a prayer. It's not a prayer, it's an intention. Forget what I call it. I gave it a reason because for some people prayer is actually a trigger to religion or something, that is not what it's intended to be, in my opinion. But intention, right? Like your intention could be very unique to what you want. Like, why are you interested in wanting to know or remember your dreams, right? So you create maybe a sentence or a paragraph, write it down, right? Like, I open myself, or I want to remember, right? Like it's an order, right? Or it's a command, if you will. I want to remember my dreams, and then give your intention. And it could perhaps not necessarily, you perhaps don't need a big intention about it, or like a specific intention. If that's the case and you just want to open the door and see if that's what's possible behind that door, then just simply, I want to remember my dreams. That's it. Simple. I recommend an intention because it gives it a heavier meaning, right? Like it's a more powerful intention, or rather a more powerful intention gives it strength, if that makes sense. And so, but it doesn't have to be. Just by saying, I want to remember my dreams, I want to remember my dreams. And that's the last thought that you say to yourself right before you go to bed. And you do it every single night. And first it's going to be glimpses of your dreams. Then it's going to be glimpse here and there of your dreams. Then it's going to be maybe a full dream. Then it may be 2 full dreams. And then, my friend, like me, it is stories and stories and stories. And it's just, hard to keep up. And I wish you get there because it's fascinating. Fascinating. So yeah, I think it's having the intention. It doesn't have to be too complex, but just having that intention before you go to bed is the first step. Be consistent right before you go to bed is really, really important. And then do the work behind it, right? Like, okay, I remember a glimpse. Let me write it down, right? Like, write it down. If you're not someone who writes it down, you don't have a journal, maybe type it, right? Like some of us are like, different generations and I prefer putting it on a computer. Maybe do a journal on your computer. Or you don't like to do that. Maybe voice memos is something that I did for it when things started flowing in, like messages would come through, blah, and I was starting to remember and receiving messages, I don't know, like 4 at a time. And I was like, I would try to remember. Sometimes I would wake up right at 3 a.m. with like 2 really heavy, important messages. And so rather than I'm not going to realistically, I have to go to work tomorrow. How the heck am I going to wake up and write in my journal? No. So I would wake up and like between my sleep and my, my dream state still, I would record a voice memo and I would just say like the 5 things that will help me remember the day after. And that worked really, really well. I also kind of directed, like you realize that you have a level of mastery on how you can receive these messages, and that comes with time, although not necessarily, but it to me came after a while, but I just kind of gave direction how I wanted to remember and to make it easier on how to then write them down or try to discern them, etc. And so that came, I will say, with some practice, but definitely something that you can, start. Like, I want to remember them, like maybe at the, I want to remember the dream right before I wake up because it's the one that I could actually, I don't know, have more, be more likely to write down or write a memo because I don't like to wake up at 2 a.m. and have to think about a dream, etc. So the point of this is be intentional and have some type of, follow up that will help you then record it in one way so that you can then study it or dig deeper or bring, some thought to it, because that is ultimately what's going to help you, discern. It's what's going to help you understand. It's going to help you point you to the direction, right? Like discern, heal, understand the message, and eventually understand, what's coming. If that's something you want, because sometimes I will say it's something I've always, when I started understanding what was happening, it was coming whether I liked it or not. And I will say I am like a lucid dreamer, and I don't think I even knew what that was until I was like, I heard the description, and I was like, well, I've been doing that for a very, very, very long time. And so, but there are many ways of getting there. And I think, again, this is where you are unique, and using and starting and having that intention and being constant is what will prompt, starting that journey that will lead you to, I think, evolution. So yes, I think that's a good start from now. It's almost an hour, I want to say. And I hope that if you got all the way here, oh my goodness, thank you for listening. And I hope that some of this resonates with you. I will love to, maybe for the next podcast, I'm going to bring some examples of what, like the types of dreams. And I think that may give you some direction and some examples of, oh crap, that's happened to me. I get it, right? Like if we happen to have similar experiences, but if not, it's like, oh, that is possible. That's interesting, right? I think the most important thing is I hope that this inspire you to pay more attention, because truly dreams is a golden box of tools that can help us reach our higher selves and a higher level of our evolution in not just spiritually, but mentally, professionally, emotionally, as I've said. And I think I'm starting to sound very repetitive. But anyway, hopefully this resonated with you in the way that I hope is resonating. I know dreams, again, are very unique, and in even the way in which we learn is going to look very different for you than me. And most likely, you may find messages or things that you didn't hear from me, right? Like that you're like, oh, well, I experienced it this way, because your learning is going to be unique, and you can actually also provide a different perspective to the world for us to hear, right? So that we can learn what other things could be possible in the way that you're understanding them. And I think this is what's so fascinating about, tapping into our higher selves, is that we're so unique and so diverse and so different that we can all always learn from each other. But anyway, I hope this resonated. Please share in the comments, what do dreams mean to you? How has there been a dream that has moved you in ways that you didn't expect it, right? Have you had a dream of someone who has passed come to you and you felt like you spoke to them and it felt like it was so real? Or maybe you had a dream about something that was coming and it actually realized and it actually happened. Or maybe it's a way where you talk to your friend who's on the other side of the world and they're still living and somehow you were able to communicate. I mean, the possibilities are infinite, and I would love to hear how you are experiencing it, because it then adds more knowledge to the world. So anyway, thank you for listening all the way here. I look forward to reaching out to you with more examples about dreams, some examples about dreams, and we're going to talk about the collective meanings of dreams, because I do think that I guarantee you you have dreamt of some of the things that I'm going to talk about. So anyway, thank you, everybody. If you stuck all the way here, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next month.